It's a brand new week, and this is a fresh edition of the program Good Morning Anambra here on ABS TV. And my name is Chidimma Orangwa.
And I'm Ajuluchukwu Okabwe.
All right, this morning we are kickstarting the show by bringing your way the stories that are trending on the tabloids. But we will start with the stories we have on ABS website this morning. But right now, take a short break. When we come back, we'll go straight into this portion. Stay with us. Samuel Ololo, he is a public affairs analyst. Samuel, good morning.
Good morning. Actually, good morning. Good morning, Samuel. Good morning to all of us and happy new week.
All right, quickly, let's start with the stories trending on our website this morning. Anambra State Government Sanitation Initiative yielding result in Onitsha. Asha launches new standard medical treatment guideline. Soludo instills Ezife's legacy of due process, respect for rule of law. Okay? These are the stories we have on our website this morning. Three great stories, if you ask me. But let's start with the Anambra State Government Sanitation Initiative yielding result in Onitsha.
First of all, let me join the Anambra to once again say that may the soul of late Ezefe rest in peace.
Former governor
of Anambra State, and he has been given his due respect.
Yeah.
May his soul rest in peace, and we pray that the template when he was a governor, his dream for Anambra State, the governors will continue to have would help us achieve. And lately, I've not really been to Onitsha to begin to speak as an eyewitness regarding the turnaround of the environmental status of Onitsha. But an average Anambarian or people who pass through Onitsha has always known that Onitsha is always an eyesore because of the kind of indiscriminate dump of refuse. The mechanism they use, the approach they use of refuse disposal has not really been wonderful. And we also know when the current governor was campaigning, environmental regeneration was one of his cardinal points when he was campaigning, and he talked about transforming Oboko and a lot of other areas. And when he eventually got the mandate to lead Anambra State for 4 years, one of the first places he went to carry out his official duty was still Onitsha. So it's good to begin to hear this information that Onitsha is beginning to have a new look. And the question is it supposed to be so? I think yes. Yes, because if you look at the trending conversation globally, we are talking about climate change, we are talking about more professional approach to refuse disposal. And it is very, very worrisome that in the 21st century, with the high rate of unemployed youth, we still have not seen the wealth in waste. So many at times, I think just as we are beginning to see the environment turn a good environmental look, which is laudable, we also want to begin to get the youth make money out of waste disposal. There are level of chains of waste disposal. Some people can decide to sort. Some people can even decide to use a particular waste to transform it into another kind of usable product. So these are the things we are looking at, and it's a good one that Onitsha is going to bear a good look. But I want to use this opportunity to advise the government. We are looking at sustenance. Let it not be that once this administration goes off, then whatever they have achieved in the area of waste disposal goes.
I think we're lauding the efforts of the state government in the house-to-house collection, because from what we read on the news this morning, we're talking about house-to-house collection. That is actually what made it, Onitsha having a new look when it comes to sanitation. You know how people used to do there. And when rain is falling, some people will carry their refuse and be throwing it inside the drainage system and all that. But with the downpour that happened on Friday or so, our correspondent went outside and saw that, their refuse weren't littered on the road as usual. So they started asking people, making, questions, what actually happened, what is going on. They said it's the house-to-house collection, that people don't need to really come out again to come and throw their refuse. The Aswama, they come to their house, collect their refuse, and and then they ring a bell when they come to, your streets, and you carry your refuse and come and dump in their trucks.
So it's a laudable one. I want to imagine how it would have been if people were still dumping refuse along the road and then with this rainfall. We know this year we are expecting another level of flooding. Yeah. But these are little things that we really need to do to start up as early warning, to make sure that the citizens do exactly what they need to do in the area of waste disposal. And since this is the state that we are, the government should perfect on it and continue to sensitize the citizens on the need to embrace it. Because whatever policy or program the government is running, if the citizens don't buy it, then we know that it will not really yield the desired result that it needs.
All right, thank you so much for that. Let's quickly go over to the papers we have this morning.
And the first paper for review this morning is the Daily Sun. The banner headline, Ex-Governor Bello, EFCC waits on court. And the writer says, judge to decide former governor's proposed arraignment. And we have accounts for trillions of FAAC allocations of space legal actions. Sarah tells 36 governors orders. Ondo APC primary. Party leaders protest in Akure. Election may be declared inconclusive. You can find that on page 25 of the Daily Sun. We generated over 22 billion in a day on air, customs says. NDLEA arrests 3 wanted says 51.90 kg of heroin. And fresh twist as third APC world officials suspend Ganduje. The writer there says they are out. They are not our members. That's what the party is saying. Reps Deputy Speaker Igbo Youth celebrate Kalu at 64. NPO BON civil society fought use of force by military on civil cases. Nigeria set to receive $2.25 billion World Bank loan. That's coming from Edu. Says facility has 1% interest, 40-year tenor, 10 years moratorium. New Nigeria possible with right leaders in government. Obi tells diaspora Nigerians. 180 bodies found in mass grave at hospital in Gaza. Quickly, let's touch on the Daily Times because I want to tell you so that we can go as far as we can. Federal government to roll out 270 CNG buses, tricycles before May 29. That's the banner headline on the Daily Times. To deliver 100 conversion workshops, 60 refueling sites across 18 states. African Counter-Terrorism Summit in Abuja. Cardoso highlights achievement in forex stability as Nigeria secures 2.25 billion World Bank loan. Bandits storm Zamfara market, Q3, injure 3 others. NDLEA, we've read about that. And then Times Multimedia Limited sues Afrexim Bank for 800 million over alleged infringement of intellectual property. These are what we have on the front pages of the Daily Times and then the Sun. Quickly, Samuel. Nigeria set to receive $2.25 billion loan. Even though the interest is 1%, 40-year tenor, and then 10 years moratorium. These are very, very interesting conditions to really accept this loan. But like we always read in the papers, you understand, when these loans are being collected, apart from these things that we are seeing here, what do they actually do with this money? Because the impact is not visible. Is the loan for the 2,700 CNG buses, or we really don't? There should be proper clarification on what these loans are actually meant for.
So somehow the banner paper, they are kind of all linked together with P2B telling Nigerians in diaspora that a new Nigeria is possible, but what we need is leadership.
Yeah.
I think I personally and completely subscribe myself to that, because if you check over the years what Nigeria, especially our leaders, have done, you will find out that there has been a trend, there has been a lot of resistance in all what Nigeria. I remember last week, one of the papers last week, Sarah was telling it that the Tinubu government to bring out the loans that they have collected from 1999 till now. They are charging the administration to bring that, or they will be charged to court so that they can get it. And here we are talking about getting another loan. And we know there was a calculation that was made that every Nigerian is owing 264,000 plus if you are to begin to repay.
That is 230 million of us.
That is what we are owing, if you divide it by our number. So the question now is, how are we? And then another publication by CBN has it that Nigerians don't have up to 250,000 in their accounts.
I thought it's 500,000.
250,000.
Okay, now 250. Wow.
Now, so it means also that we don't even have the money in our accounts to pay back. And the government is talking of borrowing more money. Now, we've had this argument several times that when the government borrows, is it bad for government to borrow? And we've had superior arguments that there's nothing wrong in government borrowing. After all, even the US that have a thriving economy, also they borrow
and they are
to fund, and they are owing to fund their economy. So it also says that for us to borrow, it's not out of place. But the big question is the accountability measures attached to the money that we borrow, the transparency attached to the money that we borrow, and the programs that the government want to run with the money that we borrow. Typical example, 2024, when the 2024 budget was passed, we saw a lot of budget padding controversies. We saw the government wanting to fix Abuja health system more than the general health hospitals for Nigerians. We saw the House of Assembly, the National Assembly this time around, talking about repairing their library, fixing their library. We saw National Assembly also talking about
building garage
for
their cars,
their car parks. Yeah. So this is what they want to borrow money for. So you find out that Nigerians so far have been borrowing money for unproductive ventures, which is not supposed to be. We want to see borrowings that would stimulate the economy. First of all, we are talking about the power. How many hours do we even have light every day? Even though the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission had placed different people in different bands. And people in band A are supposed to have 20 hours light. Why should we at the 21st century talking about in the past being the fastest growing economy, but unfortunately now we have been reduced to fourth by latest ranking.
That is in Africa.
In Africa, yes, in Africa we've been reduced to fourth. So we should be looking at the things that we can do to stimulate the economy, so that an average Nigerian don't need to depend on the government. But unfortunately, what the government thrive in doing very well is to make the citizens poor, so that when they give them cups of rice, they will begin to hail them that this person is the Messiah, this person has come to liberate us. And the question is, for how long? I think it is time that the government, when they borrow, they should borrow for just reasons and just cause. And beyond that, they should put to the minute details what they are going to spend with this money. From here, they are saying 18 states. So these 18 states that are going to spend on, what happens to other states?
No, if you want to refuel, you need to probably cross to
So these are really issues.
But then in that story too, you will equally understand that the government have the foresight of perimeter for selecting these 18 states. Are they those states that are high in commercial or maybe densely populated states as compared to other parts of? And where would they be situated? Is it going to be spread across the 6 geopolitical zones, or some areas of the country will just be favored more than the others?
So these are the questions both the media, concerned citizens, civil society organizations, and the likes are supposed to be asking the government. And we don't want it to be that this is not well thought out. We are supposed to have them to the minutest details, even the criteria for selection, really. But if they are not there, it's not yet late to bring it on board. And for me, over time, there is a research that was carried out where people were being asked about the level of trust they have in government. Of course, even if you ask an average Nigerian, it is obvious the response they will give in the area of the kind of trust they have in the government. Why am I saying this? This is not the first time we've heard a lot of promises from the government. And how many of them have they been able to live up to? Of course, we are still talking about the student loan. The student loan was one of the first policies that the government signed. But till now, we started hearing a lot of controversies around it. Just last month, we heard that the amended one has been signed. Okay, begin to implement. We are still there. But so it is good that the money that they are talking about to borrow, it is good that they are talking about palliative, it is good that they are talking about the CNG buses and how they use it, that they've given themselves a timeline. I think an average Nigerian would keenly watch, since they've said before May 29th, and May 29th is around the corner, will keenly watch to see if they will deliver on the target that they've set to themselves, especially as it has to do with timeline. But it is long overdue. These were the things that were supposed to have been in place before the removal of the fuel subsidy.
Exactly.
And if all those things were in place, Nigerians would not have met themselves in the mess and in the hardship that we were faced. Well, as usual, we've been made to adjust. So even if it comes now, it's not still late. But we want the government to be truthful to themselves and to the citizens.
All right. Let's see the Punch newspaper with the headline there. Emefiele social programs, banks withhold 530 billion naira CBN funds. Cardoso may order refund. Access Bank, GTB, FCMB, 6 orders keep unused funds. SMEs seek fresh loans. NFIU, Misal to tackle anchor borrowers loan defaulters. CBN rules out interventions. And then up there we can see federal government probes the $500 million local content loans and project. Equity market suffers 1.6 trillion naira loss in 1 week. Army vows revenge after terrorists kill 6 soldiers. Ondo poll, Akin Terinwa orders a protest as Ayedatiwa wins APC ticket. And then down there we can see the picture of the CNG buses and the tricycle. Federal government rolls out 2,700 CNG buses, tricycles on May 18th. Okay, they're just showing us the picture of how the CNG would look like and how the tricycle would look like. So we are expecting that to be rolled out on May 18th. And then Kwara shot abattoir to probe poisonous meat allegation. Motorists arrested stranded as flood overruns Lagos and Ogun roads. Outrage over discrimination against Nigerians at Abuja Chinese supermarket. Okay, the next is Vanguard. Top manufacturers list woes incurs 266 billion naira losses in 1 year. Ondo Giba protests as 4 APC aspirants call for primary cancellation. Okwama Ewu identifies 11 persons killed by military, 413 houses destroyed. And then you can see down there, PDP, why Wike was allowed into National Caucus meeting, Senate majority or minority leader Nigeria is set to receive fresh $2.2 billion World Bank loan in June. And Dia versus Olatunji, MPAN, NGE, MPOBON, CSA's orders refer dispute to Ombudsman. Intrigues as new Ganduje Ward ESCO emerges, suspends national chairman. Edo giver, Akoko Edo PDP stakeholders meet and plot victory for Ighodalo, and many more. We have many other stories on the front page of Vanguard this morning. But let's start with the Punch newspaper. The big story there, MFLS social program. We can see a whole lot of riders under that big story, which is bank withholding 530 billion naira CBN fund. Cardoso may order refund. The banks that will refund the money they did not use for what it was actually meant for. And we have banks, they are fingering the banks like Access Bank, GTB, FCMB, and 6 other banks that they use this fund for what it was meant for actually.
So it's unfortunate that these things are happening really. And I know, just like every other country, there should be time for politics and there should be time for real governance. And when it is time for politics, you play your politics. When it is time for governance, you do what is expected of you. But unfortunately for Nigeria, even election period, they are politicking. Even the time for real governance, they are still politicking. And that is what summarizes the 2 papers we've read. Because, typical example, in Ondo State, what is going on now concerning selecting the person that will be the flag bearer
of a particular political party.
Just as it's happening in this party, I bet it's going to happen across. Now, even if the person wins, they will still continue to play politics. Now, let us now come back to why should central bank, that should its core responsibility is to regulate the economy, the currency. Well, they can also produce, but they should. By this, what they do is to then checkmate inflation and every other thing that affects the economy of the society, of the country. Now becomes so much involved in politicking. What do I mean? The central bank now roll out programs. You hear Anchor Powers scheme.
Yes.
You hear a lot of it. And in these programs, of course, there are going to be banks that will begin to play their politics to be favored. The ones that will be A-list to get more money. Then the ones that might not even get at all because they don't have an insider. And then even when that money comes, those banks will begin to bring up their own criteria to give out the fund, how many persons they give out to. These are politics. So I'm thinking, what Nigeria should really be doing is, we should not more be talking about roles and responsibilities because they are there. Let us concentrate. Those who are supposed to be doing whatever they're supposed to be doing should do it. Typical example, we just talked about the military intervening in civil cases. And several times we have called that the responsibility of the military is to guide the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Then, when there are civil issues that the police cannot handle, they might be invited. But at the slight of any provocation, we've seen the military coming in with armored tank, with a lot of things. Now, Okamateni is one of it. This is the politics going on. We have failed to distinguish politicking and governance in Nigeria. And that is why everybody, especially those who are afraid, because when you talk, you don't know what happens to you. Nobody will take care of your family. You don't even know how to get the next meal. So the person is to keep quiet. I think we have to go back to the drawing board. When it is time for politics, let them play their politics, those who are interested. But when there are clear-cut winners, which must be followed according to a guideline provided by the umpires, so that everybody will know that each person is a winner. If I want to support him, let me support him. If I don't support him, that means you are not patriotic. Then the citizens would rally around whomever they have chosen to represent them in these executive positions, to give them the maximum support, and the dividend of democracy will begin to trickle down. But if we don't get it right, we will continue to play politics when central bank that is supposed to be sure that money that they have given out are not misspent, are not spent recklessly. Then because they have the vested interest, they close their eyes to it. Emefiele's case has come and gone.
He's not done yet.
No, but
He's not the governor of CBN right now. We are now talking about Cardoso.
Cardoso is doing the same thing. Virtually everything.
But then, even the headline is saying Cardoso may order
refund.
May. So this 530 billion might have even gone with the wings. Because to me, I was expecting, after fingering these banks, I was expecting to see a rundown of what and what.
Yeah,
you understand?
They use it for and what they are supposed to pay back.
Pay back, you understand?
Exactly.
530 billion is a lot of money, and we are borrowing $2.2 billion.
And you can then imagine if you go to across board, not just in Anambra State, now even in many other states, the primary healthcare centers in these states are at a solid state. Many at times, it is now the citizens, the community members, who now mobilize themselves to fix to a minimal extent these healthcare facilities. If you go to schools, students are made to pay through their parents are made to pay through their noses. Sometimes students work extra to get money to take care of themselves. So there are no clear-cut social programs in the government, in the country, by the government. But we continue to hear daily amounts of money in billions, sometimes in dollars, that are being misappropriated, that cannot be accounted for, and nothing is being done about it. And we are hearing Cardoso may. I mean, the truth is, what he's supposed to do is to, as the governor of Central Bank, give a clear-cut order mandating these banks.
So it means that we are enriching some set of people. I mean, the CEOs of these banks now, because if they have taken this money and they did not use it for what it's actually meant for, now what happened to the money?
So these are the things that is making Nigeria the place we are, and this is why we've slided from the fastest growing economy, and then we used to pride ourselves as the giant of Africa, the best economy in Africa. We are currently fourth.
And why some are suffering, some are actually smiling, because from the big story in front of Vanguard, we are having top manufacturer list was incurring about 266 billion naira losses in 1 year.
It's not surprising, because in a country where manufacturers are crying, banks are giving their profits.
What do we even manufacture in Nigeria? That the little ones that we have, the manufacturers are even crying.
So, and then we're also crying that our forest, Nigeria naira to dollar is high.
Yes.
Because, and we are even encouraging the government, pleading the government to encourage more people to come into the manufacturing industry. Mm-hmm. Those that are there are complaining. So the question is, what is the future like? What is the future really like for Nigeria if we continue this way?
Well, we'll definitely get to know further than that. But then let's go to the next paper we have for review this morning, which is the Daily Independent. And the banner headline is talking about banks recapitalization. Fear of injection of illicit funds into weak lenders heightens. Protests rock Ondo over APC Guba primary. Nigeria leads other developing economies in enhancing pharmaceutical industry. Marathon asks Matawale to withdraw remarks against northern elders. PDP North, senators didn't collect $2 million from Wike, says Abamoro. Well, there's no smoke without fire there. Lagos APC should give Guba tickets to Ambode in 2027. That's coming from stakeholders. 20 years after, federal government yet to clear 34 billion naira severance package. Ex-workers dying for lack of money to take care of health. That's coming from Union.
Ex-Nigeria Airways Staff Union.
Yeah, ex-Nigeria Staff Airways Union. And then the next paper is the Nation newspaper. And the banner headline is still talking about what's happening in Ondo State. Ayedatiwa declared Ondo APC candidate amidst protests. Aspirant kick as governor wins in 16 councils. Akin Terry in EFCC custody. Army vows to avenge killing of 2 officers, 4 soldiers in another ambush. Federal government to roll out CNG-powered vehicles. Banks in frantic moves to put recapitalization plans on course. $1.7 billion traded in 1 week in Forex window. Alabiosu appointed AG, MD, CEO, First Bank. Editor's detention, NPO refers matter to media ombudsman. And Olubadan appointment process on course, says Oyo State government. Ekiti teachers get 138 million car housing loans. Poison Kwara shot abattoir. Wow, that's interesting. Well, 20 years after, federal government yet to clear 34 billion severance package. This is talking about Nigeria Airways staff. 20 years, 2 decades and counting.
Some must have been dead by now.
That is exactly. Many might, and 20 years, many have gotten older, far older, and of course we know with life, the older you get, the sicker you become, especially in our climb where you are made to walk through the nose, hustling every day. You don't have time. You don't have time to take care of yourself. And unfortunately, currently in Nigeria, you see normally when parents finish training their children, they rest and the children begin to train them. But what we have now, what parents, even after training their children have gone through school, they have graduated, some of them are master degree holders. Their parents are still training them because there are no job opportunities, even though we have a lot of arguments around that. Now, the question is this normal? Where a politician who serves for 4 years, maximum 8 years, finishes serving, he now has a land, he has fleets of cars, he has
retinue of
he has a lot
workers being paid for.
He also has security being paid for. And the funny thing is, before the end of the month, they are the people that get their payment first. And now we have good pensioners crying. We have ex-workers who will not be taken care of. And the question is that I've always asked, who should be taken care of more in an economy like Nigeria? Is it the public servants, or is it the public servant that is now the politicians or the civil servants, whom have given 35 years of their time or more, depending on whatever it is? They toil day and night. Sometimes they even deny their family some kind of pleasure and the time they need for their family just to make sure that the economy is working. And politicians would come on board just with 4 years. They have accumulated far more than what these people would have actually got. And what in this scenario would we say that the economy and the country is promoting? It is promoting that for you to go, you have to, of course, you should know that whatever plans and packages they have for you would not serve you. So it makes them to want to start beginning to think outside the box. What does it result to? That is what we are seeing now. Kickbacks, inflation, they inflate budgets and a lot of contracts and a lot of things just to get money. And that is why I also quarrel with trade union. I call it NLC, call it CUC and the likes of them, when they are fighting and crying that minimum wage, which I have no problem with. We have minimum wage conversation in front of the table for us. We also have cost of living and the standard of living in front of the table for us. These things you should not continue talking about minimum wage and leave cost of living, because even if your minimum wage goes high and cost of living continues to go high, it continues to snap your wage. So at the end, what happens? But even with 15,000 or whatever you get, and you can go to the market with 1,000 and buy virtually everything you need, with housing allowance program, with transportation that is working very well, you will find out that you can live a well meaningful life. And I think it's unfortunate that for 20 years some persons are still crying for that severance package. What does it mean? You have laid them off, give them what is there. They are not even begging for it. This is their entitlement. Yet we are hearing CBN running Ankoa Borrowers Fund. We are hearing them giving it
530 billion
unaccounted for. So you see, we have leaders who don't care about the welfare of the citizens. And how would you then expect the citizens to be patriotic? How would you expect the citizens to relate with one another? How would you expect the citizens to even be productive in this kind of situations and scenarios that we have? I think what we need to do, and that is why we have always cried that going forward, Nigerians would have to look at leaders that care about them, leaders that understand the problem, and leaders that are willing to solve that problem. If we don't get to that stage, then we will only continue to have leaders who would come on board, make as much money as they can make for themselves and for their cronies, and then after 4 years or 8 years, they go and another set will come on board. I don't think that is what we want for our country because of our future and that of our children.
All right. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Samuel, for joining us on Press Review this morning. Because of want of time and because we have another segment on our show this morning, we would like to say thank you for being part of the Press Review.
Thank you very much. I wanted to end with something, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Anambra State, ASHA, launching new standard medical treatment guideline.
Okay.
We are happy that ASHA in Anambra State is pro the citizens. We are willing to see that guideline and use it to engage the citizens because we are talking about well-being and good health of the citizens, which is part of the sustainable development goal. It is unfortunate that generally in Nigeria, we are not near those indicators. But these things like this are showing that we are gradually taking towards it. And Nigerians should know about the programs of the government in health and embrace it for their own well-being. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for that. We are going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we have other things for you. So we'll see you at the other side. Stay with us.